But we do have to begin with breaking news on two attacks here in the United States. The first at one of the largest synagogues in the country, and the other on a major college campus in Virginia. First on that synagogue attack, which took place this afternoon at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan, about 30 miles northwest of Detroit. Authorities say the suspect drove a truck into the building before security from the synagogue engaged the driver, and that something ignited in the vehicle. They also say the suspect is now dead. This is video from shortly after the incident. You can see smoke there from a fire billowing from the building. The Oakland County Sheriff providing this update earlier today.
He breached the building, drove down the hall, and he was engaged by security.
What do we know about this fire?
Something ignited in the vehicle. That's a work in progress. We're, through an abundance of caution, clearing the vehicle for IEDs or any explosives. We've got a significant number of bomb dogs on site, bomb techs on site, and all of that's going to be done to check the boxes.
How much damage to the building from the fire?
That I can't even tell you. You couldn't even see the hall was completely clear. We had to send people in with gas masks to clear that area.
Did the car actually enter all the way into the building?
All the way in the building.
All the way in. Do we know how fast he was going?
It's hard to say how fast. I mean, he was traveling with purpose down the hall from my look at the video.
We will speak with a rabbi who was in the building in just a moment. The White House says President Trump has been briefed on the situation, and multiple law enforcement agencies across the country say they are increasing their patrols around houses of worship. And just hours before that attack unfolded in Michigan, a gunman opened fire at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. And we're just learning that the gunman in that shooting was previously convicted of providing material support to ISIS. And officials say he specifically targeted an ROTC class at the university, killing one person and injuring two others. That gunman is also dead. NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter joins me, along with NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. And Jim Cavanaugh, retired ATF Special Agent in Charge and now an NBC News law enforcement analyst, also with us. Thanks to all of you for starting us off on all of the breaking news. Tom, let me start with you. What is the very latest that we know about the synagogue attack at this point?
Right. So we'll start with the synagogue attack there, Kristen. It is our understanding now that there'll be a press conference at 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. The FBI has put out the notice about that press conference, saying that they'll be joined by local officials. I think that's our clearest indication yet that they are leaning almost to the point of falling down on the fact that this is going to be a potential federal terrorism investigation. We do know that once the FBI would take that over, that would lean towards that. It could also be some sort of a hate crime investigation. Just given the fact that this happened at the temple. But we did hear at the last press conference from local officials, they were kind of cluing us into this possibility because they said they had picked up some initial information in the course of their investigation that led them to believe that this could be a federal case. Now, as far as what exactly happened, you heard it from officials there. You're looking at the smoke on the left side of your screen coming out of that entrance. That's where it's believed this truck went through. And then you see heavy smoke billowing out of the middle of the building. Apparently, after the car stops, there's some sort of fire that erupts. So they're looking to see whether there was an incendiary device or fireworks. Probably not a bomb, just given the nature of the damage and some of the other clues that we're looking at. But the bomb squad is there. They would look into something like that. And it was really, and they talked about the incredible acts of the security guards there at this Temple Israel, where there's obviously, you could see it clearly, a school there as well, firing upon this individual and stopping them. So that's the latest on what we know out of West Bloomfield, Michigan. But I think the fact that the FBI has announced the press conference is certainly an indication that this has the potential to be a federal case.
Absolutely, Tom. And just to be very clear, we don't know the motive yet, correct? Investigators are still looking into that?
That's right. We don't know the specific motive, and so that is something that they're looking into, at least as far as the synagogue incident.
Okay, and tell us about the very latest of the shooting in Virginia.
Sure, Kristen. Well, just as we were coming on the air, the FBI Director Kash Patel announcing that the shooting at Old Dominion earlier today will be investigated initially as an act of terrorism. This follows what NBC News first reported that an individual identified as Mohammed Baylor Jallow, born in 1989 of Sterling, Virginia, is the person that authorities believe is responsible for today's shooting. That's according to two senior law enforcement officials. They say that he was the same person, as public records clearly show, was convicted of a material support for ISIS case back in 2016. He was a former member of the Army National Guard. And that was to provide material support to that terrorism organization. He allegedly attempted to help procure weapons intended to be used in what he anticipated was going to be an attack in the U.S. in the name of ISIS. Apparently, he was sentenced to prison for 11 years and was released from BOP custody in 2024. Right now, his specific motive isn't known. Obviously, they believe that it's potentially here an act of terrorism. And it's our understanding that he specifically targeted an ROTC class, and that's where he walked into and started firing, killing one person in that class, injuring two others. The FBI director is saying it was an act of bravery by those that were in the class to stop him. It's our understanding that's how the suspect, Jared, was killed, that apparently it was other ROTC members or members of that class that overcame him, Jallow, who was killed in that incident. So it is possible. We're still waiting to get some more information. But it's possible we might have two serious incidents here in this country being investigated as active terrorism today.
Just extraordinary. All right, Tom Winter, thank you so much for starting us off with all of your latest reporting on those investigations. Let me turn to Kelly O'Donnell now. Kelly, this, of course, comes at a very tense moment for religious communities nationwide. What has the broader response been from law enforcement agencies all around the country?
Well, certainly with the war in Iran, there had been an alert, a sense of posture that was an elevated threat environment. Not specific threats, but many communities increased security. Patrols. In the case of the West Bloomfield, Michigan temple, they had their own on-site security. Many do, especially those in communities where they feel they have the resources. That's a particularly large community to have that level of vigilance, which is all the time, but now heightened in part because of world events. And as Tom was just outlining, if we are now able in the foreseeable future here to draw connections between the actions at Old Dominion University, the actions in West Bloomfield, Michigan, even potentially the actions in Austin, Texas, where the gunman was wearing an Iran T-shirt and opened fire outside an entertainment area. Those kinds of incidents, while we don't see any direct connection among them, are they in an environment where there is inspiration to act because of world events, as we are seeing with the U.S. engagement in Iran? The president has been asked about his concerns about this. He has acknowledged that there could be an increased risk. He's certainly been briefed on these incidents today. And so there has been an awareness of the potential for greater activity. That's different than specific and credible threats on a given location or a part of a certain community, the Jewish community as an example. But what we have seen is that over time, and really since the October 7th war involving Israel and Gaza, there was already a much greater incidence of anti-Semitism. At times, just in terms of words or vandalism, not these kind of violent acts. But that, too, has been on the upswing. So when you put all of this together, we're just in an environment where it's hard to separate what's happening on the global stage with what's happening in local communities, where people see that there is a need to be vigilant, and law enforcement responding very, very forcefully today in Michigan, with lots of different layers of local and federal enforcement to try to come in there and get answers and to prevent anything more serious from happening. The good news in West Bloomfield, Michigan, is the fact that the community itself was safe. The children attending school and the facilities there, all safe, but obviously it was a violent attack using a vehicle, which is itself an incendiary device, thousands of pounds. And of course, we're looking to see what The next steps will be for national federal law enforcement about how to prepare other communities to be on alert. Kristen?
Kelly, you're absolutely right. I think a lot of parents breathing a sigh of relief after just a terrifying incident there at that synagogue. Thank you so much for that reporting. Jim, let me turn to you. Let's talk about the attack on the synagogue. What do you make of the incident? What would you be looking for if you were a part of this investigation right now? What are the key things that stand out to you?
Well, I think, first of all, looking at the scene, it may be a very simple attack. This guy may have had, a few gallons of gasoline in the front of the truck, and he planned to drive in there, jump out, spread it around, and light the place on fire. Something simple as that. He could have had Molotov cocktails or incendiary devices, as Tom and Kelly discussed, of course, and those will be looked for. But they don't have to be present. He could just be a 5 gallons of gasoline. And during the shooting, he might have been able to ignite it, or maybe even was ignited by some of the gunfire. Either way, it looks like a pretty simple attack on its face right now. Secondly, in the investigation, they're going to be looking for all the normal things: conspirators, co-conspirators. Was it inspired? Is he a lone mad dog actor, inspired by world events or ISIS or Iran, or was he directed? Was he supplied with money and marbles and chalk and explosives and guns? We don't have any indication of that, and we don't even know if he had a gun or fired a gun. So right now, it looks pretty simple, and maybe he's an inspired actor. We don't even know his motivation. We don't know if it's tied to world events or if it's something else. Maybe at the news conference, we'll be able to hear, what they think is the motivation. If it turns out to be inspired by international events, that will be the third one domestically behind Old Dominion, where we have a guy who's convicted of supporting ISIS and went to the federal penitentiary for it. So we know what he's all about. And then, as Kelly reported, the killer in Austin who was wearing a shirt with the Iranian flag. So if this turns out to be related, that's the third one we have in just weeks. So it's just the initial phase of the blowback from the war. We're in a war with a nation that has 80 million people, and many of them are supporters of the Ayatollah, who we just killed, and all their leaders. So they hated us before, but now they want revenge. At least a large portion of their nation does. Not all of them, but enough to have kept that dictatorship propped up since 1979. And we all know that they've been the major state sponsor of terrorism worldwide since 1979. And they've done bombings in Buenos Aires. ATF sent a big bomb team down to investigate that in the 80s, early 90s, because they blew up a Jewish Israeli center there. They tried to kill a Saudi ambassador at a restaurant in Washington, and that plot was thwarted. And they had another feeble plot where they tried to kill some of our political leaders in New York. But now it's all ramped up. This is the first picture. The second picture could be worse and more sophisticated. So we really, as a nation, have to step up our security and our awareness. A little bit of fear is okay. It helps you make judgments that this could happen. And it could happen anywhere. A beer hall in Austin, a university in Virginia, and maybe, we don't know the motive yet here, but maybe it will be part of this attack in Michigan. So at any rate, we're at war with a nation that doesn't have an army they can field against us, an Air Force they can field against us, or a Navy they can field against us. And the only thing they have is asymmetrical terror. And so we need to pay attention to that.
Well, it's a good message and a terrifying series of events, that's for sure. Jim Cavanaugh, thank you so much for your great analysis, as always. We are following this breaking news in Michigan closely, and we will speak with a rabbi who was in the building during the attack in just a moment. You don't want to miss that conversation. And joining me now is Rabbi Arianna Gordon. She is the director of education at Temple Israel, and she was in the building at the time of today's attack. Rabbi Gordon, thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry for this violence that has been brought to your community. I want to start by asking how you're doing, how your community is doing after this horrific incident.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this afternoon. We're doing okay. I live in an incredible community which really rose to the occasion, and we feel so loved and supported in this really horrific moment.
And of course, there is a school there. It is my understanding, and based on the statement that, of course, the synagogue released, all of the children are safe. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have incredible rock star teachers and an unbelievable security team, as well as local law enforcement. And everyone did exactly what they were supposed to do. And everyone got out safely. All of our children are with their parents now. And we are so deeply appreciative of our team for doing what they needed to do to make sure that it was the best possible outcome today.
Oh, well, thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. I do want to ask you if you can tell us about those moments that the synagogue was attacked. How did you experience it?
Yeah, so I don't really have a lot of information to share about those moments at this time. We're really debriefing and processing and learning more about what happened. It was definitely a scary afternoon, but again, really relieved in this moment that everyone is safe and unharmed.
Yeah, understood. Can you walk us through what was going through your head when you realized that the temple was being attacked?
You know, I think we all do these trainings so that we learn what we are supposed to do in these moments and then pray to God you never have to have that experience. But I'm thankful that we all were well trained, that we knew how to be in touch with our teachers. We knew how to lock down. We knew how to listen to the law enforcement that were coming into the building so that we could really follow those instructions very carefully and thoughtfully.
And of course, as we've been reporting, Temple Israel is one of the largest synagogues in the country. I know it is central to your community there. Talk a little bit about the role that your congregation plays in West Bloomfield.
Yeah, we are the biggest congregation in the Metro Detroit area, and we certainly are leaders in all that we do in this community, and it's a very important part of the Jewish community in Detroit. We are often hosts for events, we run schools, we run programs, we obviously run services on a regular basis. So we have been hearing from all of those around us really throughout the country all day long, wishing us well and thinking about us and sending their prayers towards our community today.
And I think echoing how everyone right now is feeling, sending all of our thoughts to you all as you go through this. Let me just ask you finally, Rabbi, we know that there have been stepped up security at religious institutions all across the country. I know that investigators don't know what the exact motive was yet, but what is your message to other communities who are seeing this, learning about the horror that happened today and who might feel afraid?
I mean, I think that fear is very valid. We had an incredible security team. I think doing the training, learning what you're supposed to do so that in that moment you can react as we have been told is incredibly important. And we're very appreciative of all of that.
Absolutely. All right, Rabbi Gordon, thank you so much for your time. Please continue to stay safe. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.